Just so you know, you were correct about Ghost of Tsushima. It is more important. It is more fun playing the samurai, like style of play than the assassin.
I fucking knew it.
I mean, like, I do like them both, but like now that I actually have armor and a worthwhile sword, I can enjoy the game as a samurai instead of like fighting for my life every 2 seconds.
Well, it's fun jumping between outfits too. Like you can go in with really good defensive armor, or you can go to like quick swordsman armor. So like there's different ways to play it too. I like that a lot.
Yeah, like if I know I'm gonna be going into a stealth mission, then I wear the Ronin attire and put on all my charms for like not being found no matter what I do. But if I'm going in for a standoff, I put on the Sakai armor because I have like so many standoff streaks. Like at this point, it's just ridiculous.
That's awesome. I love doing the standoff.
I've been enjoying it. My standoffs have not been great recently, but
I go through patterns where I'm worse than others. Like I'm like, fuck, how did he get me? He fucking feigned again, and I went for it.
Meanwhile, like you're like, oh, like you were killing it before. You were so good.
Yep. But the enemies do differentiate how they do them too, like, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, some enemies will faint like a different amount of times than others, and it's cool. I'm definitely enjoying it.
The double fake out gets me every time though. I'm just fucked. Like I'm just like, well, wasn't expecting it again, so I'm done.
I watched the feat.
I'm just committed to attacking after the first one, so
I think I'm gonna call this week's episode the "We Told You So" episode. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, cool. So, guess what, guys? We fucking told you so. Welcome to Housekeeping, presented by the Politipop Podcast, the podcast where we take your favorite pop culture media and discuss the social and political themes within. I am your co-host, Mike Booch, a.k.a. the Soy Boy Pseudo-Intellectual, a.k.a. Comrade Soy Boy, a.k.a. I'm just a shill, and I'm storming Capitol Hill. And, as always, in the second seat is my man Ty.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for this one.
This housekeeping episode has been a long time coming because we had the housekeeping episode just before the election and then went incredibly quiet. Like even through our reviews, I'm not sure if we've mentioned whether or not Biden's the president-elect or not. Like, have we even brought it up?
No, not really. I think we had mentioned doing housekeeping for a while, but we just got caught up in I think the holidays. We did the Indigenous Spotlight Month, and I think we wanted to really focus on the projects we were reviewing without making them about our political views and what was going on in current events. Yeah, Batman Returns. It's Batman Returns, so what do you expect, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, all the villains and all the heroes, they're all Donald Trump. I said it.
But, this has been a long time coming, and obviously off mic we've spoken a lot. And, it's good to kind of get this out there and talk about it a little bit.
So, yeah, for those of you who are not aware for whatever reason, Joseph Biden has been confirmed as the president-elect, the next president of the United States of America. And, just as we predicted, we saw that liberals forgave him for everything, and they were just happy that the mean orange man wasn't in office. And it was I was prepared for it, but it was still more infuriating than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think the last time we spoke was right around the election. We discussed who we voted for, and neither of us voted for him, right? And neither of us voted for Trump. So, I don't think we really had a stake in the game at this point of who won. But Joe Biden won, and liberals are very excited. Even the ones that claim to be, progressives or leftists, or a lot of them are, Biden won. And so far, Biden hasn't really promised anything special. His COVID plan is very similar to Trump's. He hasn't agreed to a mask mandate or anything like that. I think the biggest part of his plan is getting vaccines out there. And, I don't think that's really a Biden specific thing. I think whoever's president at this point would do that, right? Because that's kind of the next
it is
step.
being done. It's being done under President Trump.
But yeah, it's being done right now. Yeah, I'm actually going to be
shit.
eligible for the vaccine in a few weeks through my job. So it's not because of Biden specifically.
Yeah, I also just want to talk about his cabinet picks also because, I already mentioned on the other episodes about how people were slut-shaming Melania Trump in an attempt to lift up Dr. Jill Biden.
Yes.
And it was a whole thing. And, once again, if you're a true leftist, in my opinion, you do not resort to the tactics of the other side as far as like being homophobic or slut shaming or toxic masculinity or anything like that. Like, I think you can comment on Melania without being like, oh, well, she was a nude model. But anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons she's a terrible person. That's not one of them. So why not just pick one of the dozens of other reasons,
Yeah, but liberals are very shallow. They are very surface.
I mean, luckily they were right though, and Joe Biden picked a lot of progressive people for his cabinet, like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, and people who have really
and he's best friends with AOC, right?
AOC, yeah, he's really pushing all these people. Obviously, I'm lying. I'm lying really, really, really terribly because it's not what happened.
Yeah, if this is the only news or political information you happen to get, I do feel sorry for you. I'll be providing a lot of sources in the show notes this week, and a good majority of them actually come from Richard Medhurst. He is an independent journalist based in the UK. I've referenced him before. I'm going to reference a lot of his videos today. So if you do want deep dives on stuff, I would suggest going there. I would suggest going to Move Left Idiots, the Socialist Talk podcast. Go to Amped Up with Ryan Knight. We've been listening to those pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And I think that for the most part, our views align on things such as where we stand on Medicare for all and force the vote, which, we're probably not going to talk about much today, but, just there.
I was going to bring it up a little bit, but we'll get it in. We'll get it
whatever.
in.
Yeah, so I just want to name a few picks that Biden has for his cabinet. We have Neera Tanden, the imperialist. She is going to be heading the Office of Management and Budget. She, in the past, in case you weren't sure of what she's famous for, she is a Hillary Clinton stan. I include a WikiLeaks link in the show notes that has all of her emails to Hillary Clinton. She outed a victim of sexual harassment in the workplace. She punched Bernie's campaign manager, Faiz Shakir. She has been pro, like, oh, well, Libya has oil. Let's blackmail them for it in emails that have been released. So just note that while he's putting diversity in his cabinet, he's putting, a woman of Indian heritage, to be the first woman of Indian heritage, to manage the Office of Management and Budget. Yet she is, just another imperialist.
Well,
warhawk.
It's like the oldest trick in the book, right? He's like, it's like a magician. Like they're showing you one hand, Meanwhile, he's fucking punching you in the back of the head with the other one, So it's like, oh look, we got people of color in my cabinet, and they're like the worst fucking people you can find. So, yeah, it's really great.
Well, let's not forget about the first openly gay cabinet member, Pete Buttigieg, who I actually put in the notes as Booty Boy. That might be a homophobic thing. I didn't put it in there. I was just like, his name sounds like booty. But yeah, Pete Buttigieg, transportation secretary. I feel like he just has experience being a mayor, right? And also intentionally dropping out of the race to secure Biden's nomination for the Democratic Party and hopefully get his cabinet pick, which he actually did get his 30 pieces of silver for this.
Right. Yep. He really did. He really did.
I can't speak as to how much transportation management he has, but whatever.
The resume is not great for it. We'll say that.
Yeah. We also have Lloyd Austin. He is a former military general. Last year, he earned 6 figures by being a board member of the military contractor Raytheon. So another war hawk who stands to profit from more war. Biden has put him, but he's black. So, I mean, Biden is killing it in the diversity game. All of our oppressors and imperialists are going to be the most diverse ones that we've had in years. So, Hooray! It is a little bit like the Obama administration. But that was it. Basically, don't. My mind is blown by how people are not holding Biden accountable, and they're just happy that Orange Man is out of the way.
Well, that was the big thing, right? It was like, listen, guys, we're going to hold our noses. We're going to vote for Biden because we need Trump out, right? And then we're going to hold him accountable. And the guy's not even in office yet, and people are already done trying to hold him accountable. You know, he's announcing these horrible cabinet picks, and people are just like, well, I mean, it's fine, you know? And it's just, what happened to holding him accountable? We're done already. The guy's not even sworn to office. So, you know, what was it all for? We're not going to get anywhere.
No, it just showed that the whole time while liberals were co-opting things like ACAB and Medicare for all and Green New Deal and stuff, it was really just that they didn't want the mean guy in office.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And it's so much to the point that when we do talk about the stimulus, there are people who would refuse a $2,000 stimulus just because it was proposed by Donald Trump.
Right.
Like, I really don't get it. I haven't heard a lot about Black Lives Matter, but just for those of you who aren't aware, there was a young man named Casey Goodson. I believe it was in Columbus, Ohio. He was killed for holding a sandwich. There was a sheriff's deputy or an officer who thought that Casey was a fugitive. He's a 23-year-old young man. He was getting into his car. He was getting out of his car, going into his home, and they told him to drop the weapons, which later turned out to just be sandwiches. I don't have any updates as to whether or not anyone's going to be charged, but I believe last I heard of it, they were looking to have the feds take over the investigation.
Well, luckily Joe Biden's going to, defund the police, right? And hold them more accountable.
Yeah, well, I mean, he never said that he would, but
he's got to, right? Even though he said he would increase funding to the police because they need better training.
I've never seen like, oh, we got more police funding and we have this much better training and blah blah blah. It's always like we now have a tank, we now have these new guns, we now have these riot shields and stuff like that. It's always, we have more stuff to oppress people. It's never we have stuff to be better cops and serve the people.
Yep, exactly.
Speaking of shitty cops, Jacob Blake, we covered his story a little while ago. He was shot in the back several times and was paralyzed from the waist down. The cops who paralyzed him will not be charged. We are currently in a lame duck session at the moment. So normally this would mean that Trump is kind of, making his way out of the White House. And apparently there have not been any executions for a number of years during a lame duck session. But Trump, as always, really enjoys breaking molds. I'm going to read a little bit from BBC. And it says 5 executions are scheduled before President-elect Joe Biden's January 20th inauguration, breaking with a 130-year-old precedent of pausing executions amid a presidential transition. Attorney General William Barr has said his Justice Department is simply upholding existing law, but critics have said the move is concerning coming just weeks before Mr. Biden, who has said he will seek to end the death penalty, takes office. The 5 executions started with convicted killer 40-year-old Brandon Bernard. Well, that's just not right, because didn't Brandon Bernard not kill anybody?
He did kill someone.
I thought Brandon Bernard I thought he got rid of the evidence.
He basically, what happened was this other guy shot the man and the woman in the car and told him to burn the car down. But the woman was actually still alive.
I think I might have heard there was evidence that
there's evidence that he may have killed her. Yes, so she may have died from the gunshot wound, but there was smoke in her lungs, so they basically charged him with murder. And listen, nobody's saying what he did was right, but he was a very young man who made a very bad mistake. And
he was like 18 years old when it
happened. And we don't, he apparently, has lawyers claim that he was scared of his friend who was armed, and he felt threatened, so he did what he was told. And again, it's not an excuse. I don't think the guy should have gotten out after 5 years. But the death penalty is pretty extreme. When is Kyle Rittenhouse getting the death penalty?
Exactly.
No,
Kyle Rittenhouse killed more people than Brandon Bernard.
It's not a competition, but it's not equal, right? And that's
true.
the issue.
It's not. Brock Turner also raped more people than Brandon Bernard, as far as I can tell. And, obviously it's not a matter of those guys should be free, but everybody should just have, justice should be administered equally, obviously, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Editor's note here. Wanted to let you know also that at the end of Obama's term, he was actually asked by several people to commute the sentence of Brandon Bernard, and he still didn't do it. So he still kept this guy on death row, not even, commuting it to life in prison, which isn't great, but also wanted to let you know that Democrats aren't your friends. I want you to know that as much as we shit on the GOP here, that Democrats are also not your friends. They're also conservatives, and that our next segment, which involves Trump's pardons, also includes a few low-level drug offenders. Enjoy! In a wake of executions, there are also a number of pardons that Trump has put through. You may remember in 2017, he pardoned Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who I actually just found out that in 2020, even while he was pardoned, the guilty charge still stands. Like his attorney sued to have the guilty charge dropped, but he still is considered guilty of the crimes that he committed. And for those of you who don't know, he basically created a tent city, was targeting Latinos in an attempt to out them as undocumented immigrants. So he made a camp for them. He forced them to wear striped suits and pink underwear. I believe that there was heat exhaustion, and I think there was at least one miscarriage also.
Wow.
So those are the types of people that Trump likes to pardon. We see that in 2020 he pardoned Stephanie Moore. She early in her career was a canine officer, and she wasn't a dog herself. It wasn't an Animorphs, although it was in the early 90s.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, right. She was new on the force though and working with dogs, and she released a dog on a homeless man. They were searching for a couple of burglars, and it turns out that it was just a couple of people experiencing homelessness. They were on top of a building. They climbed down, and even after they were following orders, she released a dog on him and was charged and put in prison for police brutality, as one should be. Yeah. But she was just pardoned as well. He also pardoned the Blackwater guards. Do you remember Blackwater, Ty, or no?
Yeah.
Blackwater being a massacre that took place, killed a bunch of Iraqi civilians, and Trump pardoned those guys as well. So,
isn't Blackwater an organization?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So I was referring to the massacre, but they are an organization of
like a mercenary
private
group, right?
Military contractors. Yeah, I think that's what they are.
Yeah, and like you said, they committed mass murder, basically, including, I think it was a 9-year-old kid, right, that was shot in the head.
A 9-year-old kid was killed, yes.
Yeah.
And Trump pardoned these guys.
After they were tried, right, in a military court. I believe they were tried in a military court and found guilty. So, it kind of boggles the mind why he would even pardon these guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's also pardoning a bunch of people associated with his campaign who were convicted of different things.
Now that I expect.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It kind of makes you think, why wasn't Blackwater at the Capitol? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Like, I figure, if that was your time to keep office, by force, get the Proud Boys, get Blackwater, get all the people who you've been, riling up, not just the bizarre. I don't want to talk shit about people, but just I don't know. This didn't seem like the tactical contingent of Trump supporters, but
yeah.
I also want to talk about Assange. For those of you who don't know, Julian Assange, he's the founder of WikiLeaks, and
right.
He was a journalist / hacker, whatever you want to call him, who up until recently was being held in the UK. Actually, I guess he's
still being held in the UK.
He is in the UK, but was this even his trial? No, it was just a hearing, right? To see
the hearing to see if he would get
to the United States.
Yeah, so if he would be extradited to the United States, and miraculously, this judge who apparently has always extradited people, decided
And
not
was
to.
parroting she was parroting all the American talking points too, the American prosecution, like saying everything they were saying too, like false stuff. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but you said that the extradition was actually denied. The request for extradition was denied, which is wild, because the deck has been stacked against Assange from the beginning here. He exposed war crimes, and the U.S. wants to try him for it. I imagine it would be similar to them holding Jeffrey Epstein or something. Because they did say that he would be put in prison, like, without even being found guilty of anything.
Yeah.
Like having not committed a crime. Would be held in a maximum security prison where, like, the most dangerous people are, like Al-Qaeda people are there, and they want to put a hacker in there. But I do think it's awesome to see that he won't be extradited, and hopefully he won't be assassinated.
Well, unfortunately, the U.S. can still appeal, which I think they're going to, and his bail was denied.
Really? Was it?
Yeah, his bail was denied. So he's not out of it yet. I think. It was some good news.
By no stretch.
I think we were all kind of shocked that he even has a chance at this point. But I think it's important to keep talking about it, because people really aren't. You don't really hear this in the news. You mentioned Richard Medhurst earlier. He's actually been covering the story.
Yeah, he's literally been in the courthouse.
Yeah.
He's been at the Old Bailey every day of this hearing.
And he's one of the only people, I think, really covering this and accurately covering it.
Well, United States mainstream media isn't saying shit about it.
No, they're not talking about it. Yeah, it's like, who cares? Well,
nope.
What do you mean, who
cares?
We're
we're trying to murder this man for trying to hold, war criminals in our government accountable. Like,
yeah, it's pretty disgusting. I mean, this is really, about free press and covering news accurately and honestly. And, I think it's so important to see the outcome of his trial. Even Snowden came out and said, don't, if you're going to pardon someone, because there's been talk of Snowden getting pardoned, he's like, don't pardon me, pardon Assange. Because Assange is the one in danger. They said he has a lot of mental health issues. He's in danger of committing suicide. He also has some physical health issues. He's at great risk of COVID. So, there's a lot of things that could really, really go wrong for this guy. And I think it'd be in everyone's best interest if he's released and, let go. The United States just lets him go at this point.
He's also an Australian citizen. Just wanted to mention.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's an Australian citizen.
Ty, I want you to tell me about this stimulus situation, or lack thereof, however you want to put it.
Oh man, I don't even know where to begin, because it's been so long, right? So long since our last stimulus. But the stimulus has gone back and forth, right? There was eventually a deal worked out. Republicans, brought something to Pelosi's desk, and it would have, I think, provided, again, $1,200 checks to Americans. And she denied it. She did not agree with the bill. She wouldn't vote for it. And, they came to a standstill again. So after the election, her and the Republicans came to another agreement for a stimulus that would give $0 to Americans, which was pretty unbelievable, because that was really the only thing that seemed to change.
Amazing negotiation, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was like really the only thing that seemed to change between the previous stimulus and this one was the checks to Americans. So, when confronted about it, Pelosi basically said, well, there were things in the other one that we had to get rid of. So what? You didn't want to give Americans money in their pockets? So, between negotiating back and forth, they finally came to $600 checks, right? $600 checks to Americans who make $75,000 and under, and for every $100 you make over that, you lose a portion of that money. And it's still, a bunch of loops and hurdles and things through there. They also aren't giving it to anyone who's a dependent over 18. So if you have a dependent who's over 18, they're not getting anything, and you're not getting anything for them, which I don't understand the reasoning for that. So, pretty unreal there.
So even after you move out and your parent claims you on their taxes, you're getting fucked because
you're getting fucked. Yeah, that's it, man. You get nothing. So the real curveball, right, was that Donald Trump came out and said $600 is not enough. Let's give the people $2,000.
Comrade Trump.
Yeah, and in this hilarious turn of events, And who took up this sword and shield? Bernie Sanders, right? He kind of ran with this. And he even said, I don't agree with Trump on much, but I agree with him here. And he brought it to, forward. And the House wound up voting. Nancy Pelosi in the House voted, and they voted for this new $2,000 stimulus. And it went to the Senate, where Bernie Sanders and, a few other people that supported it, some Republicans and a few Democrats. Bernie had been fighting for $1,200 checks and gotten, thrown out of the ring time and time again, but he was not backing down. So as we approached New Year's Eve, he took to the Senate floor and tried to convince Mitch McConnell to put it to a vote, right? Not even for people to actually vote for it, just to give it the opportunity to be put to a vote, to which McConnell wouldn't do.
Just open the floor up for debate, right?
Like they wouldn't even debate it. He was like, this is democracy, right? So let's debate it and put it to a vote. That's all we're asking for. And McConnell wouldn't do it. And again, some Republicans were even supporting this. So it was pretty unbelievable. And this is all ramping up just as the Georgia Senate race was happening. So it was kind of confusing to me, because I'm like, well, Mitch McConnell won't give people this $2,000, right? That's what it kind of came out as. That's how the media kind of turned it. And I know people who were Republicans and Trump supporters who were also like, fuck McConnell, right? Like, he won't give us this money, because that's kind of how it turned out. Good. And just as the Senate race is happening, you just made Republicans look so dumb and so weak. So you've got the House pushing, you got the president pushing, you've got Bernie Sanders and several other senators on the Senate floor pushing for it, and he still says no. So lo and behold, it does not get to a vote. And right now we're with the $600 stimulus, which they also fucked up, and they sent to TurboTax an H&R Block for millions of Americans, myself included, who did not receive their stimulus because it went to these organizations instead. So now those
You're fucking kidding me.
I'm not. And so these organizations had to send the money back. But now there's a hiccup, and they're trying to figure out how to get it to people. So a bunch of us are still waiting for this stimulus that has not come. And they sent me an email last night saying that hopefully in the next few days they can figure it out. Or when you do your tax return, you'll have an option saying you did not receive your stimulus. Now, luckily I'm working right now. I could use the money. Obviously, I still have medical bills from years ago that I'm paying off because our healthcare fucking sucks. But, there's so many Americans that are not working right now. They are going to lose their homes. They can't feed their kids, they need money and they need it now. $600 is barely anything, right? But it still could be the difference between going hungry for a few weeks and actually having dinner on the table. So by fucking this up, how many people are going to suffer? And this all leads to the Georgia Senate race, where in this shocking turn of events, both Democrats won. And I really do believe that if McConnell had pushed this $2,000 stimulus through, they may have had a better chance of defeating these Democrats. But
Joe, like a perfect storm of events too,
right? It's just like, it's crazy. It's like a movie.
To flip it like that.
And Joe Biden came out and said, if both Democrats win the Senate, we're gonna push that $2,000 through. So
yeah, my fucking ass.
Cards are on the table, bruh. Let's go. Let's get this fucking $2,000 passed. Which, so hilariously, they're already coming out and saying, it's still kind of a 50-50 split. It's going to be really hard to get anything done. So the House is blue.
Holding votes hostage, man. That's right? Exactly what that is.
I know. So the House is blue, the Senate's blue, and the White House is blue. And yet they still don't know if they can push through a lot of legislation, because it's just too much of a split. And this is what Democrats do, right? This is their excuse for not pushing through Medicare for all or a Green New Deal, because hey, it's just too close. We don't have enough power. You couldn't have more power at this point, right? If you're not going to do it now, then when will you do it? And the last time this happened, Obama was the president, and what did they do? They did Obamacare, right? Which hurt a lot of people. It helped some people and it hurt many, many others. In many ways, it was a Republican healthcare plan. And this all really comes down to, how do we get Medicare for all on a vote, right? How do we get a floor vote on it? And that was another big thing that happened right in the last 2 weeks, right? So Nancy Pelosi is going to be voted, as Speaker of the House again. And there was a push by Jimmy Dore, an activist and comedian, and then
Which, by the way, that was a whole other ballless moment, if I can say that, for the for like the squad and the New Democrats and the face of the future of the Democratic Party to vote for her again. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, yeah, so kind of where I'm going with it. So like the squad has doubled this year. Or I guess technically last year, the end of last year, the squad has doubled. More and more progressives are being voted into office than ever before, right? And so there was this movement put out, called Force the Vote. And the idea was to hold your vote for Speaker of the House for Nancy Pelosi unless she puts Medicare for all to a floor vote. And that's all they're asking for. It's just a vote. Again, it might not get voted in, but putting it to a vote. And people like AOC and many other progressives, we were asking them to do this. And
that is, by the way, that gradual change, too.
Yeah.
Like, Sanders was just asking for a debate. Jimmy Dore is saying, well, let's just put it to, and so many others, obviously, are just saying, let's just put Medicare for all vote there.
Yeah, let's put it on the table. Let's see what happens.
That's all. Have to pass. Let's just put it out. Let's hold our politicians accountable and get something from them. Let's make Pelosi concede something. And obviously they didn't. Sorry.
And they can come out and they can say, look, we tried, right? We tried to get it voted. We're not giving up, but obviously it didn't happen this time. And Mike, what happened? They didn't do it, right? They did not do it. They voted for her for Speaker of the House. I think only 5 Democrats did, none of which are in the squad. And it's just really disappointing. It's just constant disappointment after disappointment, and there's really just not much hope politically on the horizon. So,
well, I think I can segue into our final story using this. People are so excited about, the squad. Once again, that's marketing, right? We have squad and we have AOC. We don't have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We have AOC, and Biden, not Biden, but Biden. We got Biden out, we got Trump out of office. We got Biden in, and we're just so happy that the people, the blue people, are in power. But they're showing us, and I've been shown more and more, every single day, that I'm done putting any of my faith in people.
Yeah.
I'll mention that Richard Medhurst, he's probably the closest one right now because he's a good journalist, but if he ever does any shit that's problematic, I'll call him out on it too. You shouldn't be afraid to hold people accountable. People just want to hitch their wagons to something, and they're so ready to follow and everything. And I don't want to be like, oh, wake up, sheeple, but follow ideals. Stop following people.
But you need a leader, right? You need someone to inspire you. I think that's why people get hitched. I'm really bad at that. I get really invested in people. I'm still invested in Bernie Sanders as much as he frustrates me. I got really emotional when he was taken to the floor on New Year's Eve. But at the same time, like you said, you can't just expect them to be perfect, and you can't allow them to make mistakes and not be called out for it. You have to hold them accountable. You have to talk about what they did wrong and how they can do better. And I think that's how they will do better. I think the squad would be a lot more effective if more people were willing to call them out instead of just being like, no, they're our only chance. We gotta get behind them. No, tell them, listen, you're not the squad anymore. You're not fucking progressive if you're not gonna push for Medicare for all. That's how you got voted in. So why are you not following this? So you're right. You have to believe in the ideals, and hopefully, we can do that, and the left can kind of, get behind these ideals more than just a single person, and we can figure out how to move forward here.
So now we enter the I told you so portion of the show. That's right. I had been hypothesizing for some time now that maybe, just maybe, these Trump guys, all the maggots, as people sometimes like to call them, maybe they don't love their country. Maybe they just love Trump. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
And it has been shown to be true in that recently, within the last day, Trump had a call to arms in which he told all of his supporters to march down Pennsylvania Avenue and stop the steal because they were certifying the election results in Congress to see who was going to be the president of the United States, in 2021, by the time January 20th comes around. And
at least they did it peacefully, right?
Well, of course they did it peacefully. If peaceful includes using chemical weapons to get inside, leaving explosive devices around multiple areas on Capitol Hill, storming the cops and injuring them on your way into Capitol Hill. I'll also mention not wearing masks as a form of violence.
Nice.
That's just me personally.
Wow. Yeah.
And also scaling the... It's not funny, but it's also hilarious in its own way. It's
kind of hilarious.
It's the most riveting television I've seen in years. I'll say that, or ever since quarantine. It was like Tiger King and the Capitol Hill siege.
I think it was really fun for leftists to watch like Republicans like attacking each other and then like liberals freaking out. It was kind of hilarious.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, because, I said it on Facebook. I said it to you, and I've seen the people on Move Left say it too. Like, we like the energy, but, if only it was for a good cause.
Yes,
like, if only they were storming the Capitol building and being like, Medicare for all, or like, defund the police, Black Lives
New
Matter.
Deal, like some shit like that. Yeah,
exactly. But because it wasn't for civil rights, and because the majority of these people weren't people of color just begging to be treated like human beings, the cops didn't seem to murder them a lot. I believe 4 are dead currently. You can find all the specific numbers in the show notes, which they may change by the time this episode comes out. Unfortunately, I know at least one of those dead was a woman who stormed the Capitol and was shot and killed by a cop. Based on the videos that I've seen, I know I sent you the Sean King video where those guys like storm, they basically like just force this one cop to retreat.
Right.
It blows my mind how they have infinite patience. Like, it seemed like that one person who was shot, if this were a Black Lives Matter protest, there would have been several more people blinded, gassed, broken, concussed. Like,
well, there's like that ex-Marine guy who was at the Black Lives Matter protest who like approached them to talk to the police and they fucking like gassed them in the face, right? Like,
yes, I remember that.
They broke his arm.
Yes.
I think they broke his arm
hand,
too. Yeah, his hand, right. And yet there's literally a fucking Trump supporter chasing this cop up the stairs of the Capitol building. And nothing. He turns around, he's like, stop! And then he starts running again. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. It took hours for the National Guard to show up. It's just like, they really
they had to get out of their Trump supporter clothes and then get into their work clothes. They were already there.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, like, why fight each other, right? I mean, like, shit.
It's like it's like what we said. Actually, it's a lot like what we said on the Purge episode when it was like, oh, do you think that the next day all the they're like, oh, we need the cops to report here, and they're like, oh, we're already in that neighborhood.
Oh shit.
But also at the end of election year, at the end of that movie, they had a bunch of the NFFA supporters storming the Capitol, taking to the streets because they didn't agree with the results of the election, which is something that, is actually happening now. We called it on our Purge election year episode.
We actually did. And I mean, there were literally senators, right, in the building on lockdown. They had gas masks on to protect them from what was being used in the building. And
then also the tear gas, I suppose, that was used on them. I don't know if it was used in or outdoors, but yeah.
They were hiding under their desks. There was armed, security trying to, protect them. It was, I can imagine it was probably pretty terrifying for them. Do you think Mitch McConnell shit his pants because he's the most hated man in America right now? Well, up until this happened, because of the $2,000 statement, he's like, "Fuck, everyone wants to kill me." Like, I would have definitely been scared.
I wish. Oh yeah, it could have been for the stimulus, right?
Yeah.
They're not here for the. They're here. Biden. Fine. Whatever.
Fuck it.
Wait, is that what Mitch McConnell sounds like?
Yeah. There's definitely some highlights.
Knotts?
Somebody broke into Pelosi's office and took some of her letters, which I find hilarious, and took some pictures like sitting at her desk. I hope they really dig up some good dirt on her because she's pretty horrible.
I'm for it.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Somebody was tweeting, and I saw this tweet get shared quite a bit by a lot of Trump supporters saying, "We stormed the Capitol building. A peaceful protester was shot by police." And like obviously I don't want the police to shoot anybody, but the irony of this, I'm like, you just said you stormed the Capitol. So to me, that's not really peaceful, right?
Storming itself is not a peaceful act.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can't put those two sentences together and have them make sense. They don't. They just don't, And, like, people want to talk about how Black Lives Matter protesters were so violent for hitting the streets. I mean, these people stormed the Capitol building. They broke down
like
windows
attacking targets and corporate owned businesses is one thing. And I know that there are cases where small businesses get caught up in that, and my heart breaks for them. I'm going to be honest, but you got to crack a few eggs if you want to make an omelet, or in our case, open a few just eggs or crumble a few tofus. Anyway, but like. But there's a difference between like, we're going to go loot Target and we're attacking the government. Like, that's literally what you guys were doing.
Yeah.
And we're not, listen, our takes aren't hot. I've already listened to 2 or 3 podcasts, that have takes on this. And, they say the same thing. We're saying, if they were black, they would have been, blah, blah. Yeah, we know.
We know
and
that.
and it's very frustrating. And just like you said, I don't want to see anyone get shot. I don't want the cops to kill anybody, especially, when Kyle Rittenhouse killed those people, I was sad. When Michael Reinl killed that one dude who was on the Trump side, I was sad. When Michael Reinl was then murdered by cops after, I was sad. Like,
a lot of sadness.
It's just like I've lived a good portion of this past year in sadness, but when I said it's gonna be you one day, I did say that on a previous episode where I was getting really radical. I was right. I did tell you so. I do think that people do have a right for freedom of speech and your First Amendment right to freedom of assembly. Then they actually did make it violent. And it wasn't just violence on objects. They were using weapons on people. They hurt officers. And so now here's my other thing that I told you so. All those people who supposedly cared so much about the cops, they never cared about the cops. They just didn't like black people saying, treat us like people. Because you're attacking the fucking cops. What happened to Blue Lives Matter then?
Yep. As soon as the cops aren't supporting what you want them to do, you don't give a fuck about them, right? We even saw this on New Year's Eve. There was a lot of videos from New York City where people were having giant parties and crowds, and the cops were trying to break it up, and they didn't give a fuck. They didn't want to listen to the police. All of a sudden, Blue Lives Matter didn't matter so much. So yeah, it's. I think the racism and the Trumpism was on full display this week. I think Representative Lindsey Graham, the Republican, even said something along the lines of like, windows can be repaired, buildings can be, but lives can't be. And it's kind of like what Black Lives Matter protesters were saying, but the irony I'm sure is lost on him.
And I saw people sharing like, I saw one person. I have to document exactly how many people I've seen sharing a thing.
Because you've been called out on it.
Yeah, exactly. By liberal acquaintances who blocked me anyway. But I saw one person share like, rest in peace, Darwin Award winning thing for the woman who was killed, and like. That is, I just think it's in poor taste, because they do that when it sounds so, 5th grade. They do that when our guys die, but like when, the people who Kyle Rittenhouse killed, for example, they were sharing the same shit for them. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, it's just in terrible taste. I
mean, to be honest, I don't give a fuck. Maybe I have a different opinion, but I mean, like, there's a difference between, fighting for the rights of people to live and the difference of storming the Capitol building because you don't agree with, a political vote. I think, it's very different. And the people that went there were very lucky. There should have been more bloodshed based on what's happened in other protests and the fact that
if the police were consistent, yes, they would have been lined up for a firing squad,
But so I mean, to me, I don't really care. I don't really care that people were killed in this fight. I guess do I want people to die? No, but I'm not going to shed a tear over it. That's kind of how I feel.
No, listen, that's fair. I'm not gonna listen. I'm here to espouse my views. I'm not gonna fucking talk shit about you for having yours. And also, we'll see how I am during my next tolerance break. Yeah. I'm not getting high every day.
There you go.
I'll be like, fuck it, burn it all down. Not burn it all down, but I'm like, burn it down and everybody can be friends, man.
It is interesting because, it just goes to show how easily we really could take, like, the Capitol building. You know what I mean? Like, if this was like France and we were finally fed up with all the bullshit and people wanted to fight for actual rights, very easily we could do it. So,
well, I thought that. Like, I thought, like, oh, like, what's to stop us from doing the same thing? But it's just like we've already said so many times, when we come out to fight for actual human rights, then it's we got to bring out all the military, all the cops, and strike these people down. I mean, they were so underprepared. What if it was the Proud Boys with this, with their actual fucking rifles and stuff? What if like it was, the militant alt-right groups who are like, who are like, all right, we're doing this. I don't know why it wasn't them.
Yeah.
Like,
kind of interesting, right? Well, I think these were probably not the most intelligent people doing this. They clearly didn't seem like it. But maybe that's what we got to do. We got to fake put out like, all right, Proud Boys protest, and it's actually a bunch of Black Lives Matter protests, and the cops aren't ready because they didn't think so, and they're like, oh,
I would gladly storm the Capitol with like holding a Trump flag in my hands as it waves in the air, and I have a Black Lives Matter shirt on me, and I'm like all right, like I'll come. You guys are gonna let me in because of this camouflage, and and I'm gonna try and fight for human rights.
Oh man,
but yeah,
so Trump this morning did say that now they're gonna do a peaceful transition, which I think is kind of ridiculous after he got people killed yesterday. But he's claiming now he's going to peacefully transition. But Democrats are pushing for his impeachment. And I believe it's under the 25th Amendment. They could impeach him. Mike Pence could take over as president for the final 2 weeks. Do
you think there's a point to it?
I think yeah, I do. I guess I do, because it sends a message that you can't just incite violence and do what you want, that there is a repercussion, So I think they should. I think, Trump actually called Pence a traitor yesterday, which was hilarious. He turned on him really quickly. And I think
seriously,
basically Republicans know it's a sinking ship, and they're like, fuck this. And they're just backing down from supporting Trump left and right. So, yeah, I mean, I think they should. I think, for entertainment value alone, I'd love to see it. What would Trump say if he got impeached right now?
He's already been impeached.
Yeah. But like this
he's currently an impeached sitting president. I mean, we'll see. I don't, do you just kind of wait it out? Do you see what damage can be done in 2 weeks? Like,
well, that's the thing. I think if Mike Pence takes over, things will kind of go as they normally would, right? And he'll peacefully transition power to Biden. With Trump still in charge, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they've taken Twitter away from him. They've taken Facebook away from him. In an unprecedented move, they've actually locked the president's accounts, which is pretty insane. So, they're trying to take his voice away. So his only option would be, I guess, at that point to have live, protests and live rallies to get his message out there.
Well, I mean, he can't hold a press conference. Like, let's be real. Like, the media won't come to listen to what Trump has to say, because they said that one of the sources that's in the show notes, actually, they were like, I think it's a UK source. They were like, so President Trump has no way of reaching his followers. Like, he's the president of the United States. He just loves to use fucking Twitter.
But not if Mike Pence takes over. That's the thing, right? Because, a lot of these people believe in the Constitution, as fucking flawed as it is. They believe it to a T, right? That they're going to support it and uphold it. So Mitch McConnell already came out and fucking talked shit about Trump. Like, everyone's talking shit about Trump.
They didn't want to push back before.
Yeah, now everybody's fucking like, fuck this guy. But so if Mike Pence does, do this, and they go with the 25th Amendment, they can strip Trump of any power he does have in the White House. So I don't know what would happen then.
But honestly, my mind is spiraling right now. I could see him holding, even if he's no longer president of the United States, I can see him holding a press conference. The media is still going to him, just him being a civilian now.
Yeah. I mean, he's rich and famous.
Yeah, unless he's actually arrested or charged with the crimes. Whatever. There's so much. There's so much to wonder. He did it. Now, here's my last question for you, because of his My Bad video, which is also linked to in the show notes, where he's like, listen, they stole the election from us. It was a landslide election. We all know it. But you got to go home. You got to remain peaceful. Okay? You're all special. You're all very special people. So that blew my mind there. And this is my last question. Do we get Nixonvilles like they had in Watchmen? Like, do we get little, like, that's the literal safe space. You know, they made fun of us for being snowflakes. No, do you need a safe space? Like, you guys are being called special little people because you got so angry that your guy didn't win. Like, your white supremacist won over the other white supremacists. Like,
I mean, I think those places already exist, like Long Island.
It's not wrong.
There's just a couple of us hanging on, but I think those places already exist, and I mean, it still goes down to the fact to me, Trump is he just wants to be in the spotlight, man. Like, I really don't think he actually like is this mastermind evil genius. He's just like, fuck it, people love me, I'm gonna get on stage, tell them the election was stolen from me, so they want me to be president forever.
Provide no proof.
Yeah.
They'll eat it up because I've discredited the media for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a great job of it, and I'm sure he'll try to run again in 2024. He's prepping, dude. He's getting ready for the next step. He's gonna have his own, his own TV channel, and he's gonna run again. I mean, he's solidifying his legacy. If these people support him now, then through this, then they'll support him for anything. So, I mean, he's just living off this power, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I have so much and also so little to say about it because, like, I mean, the media did make it out to be like, now upon closer inspection, when it was first happening, I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. It seems like a bunch of people assembling and a few of them are acting like assholes.
Well, you didn't even know anything was really like going on until I texted you, right?
Yeah, you're the one who told me.
I was like, bro.
I turned it, and then I was literally just for you, the listeners, is behind the scenes. I said, let me turn on the TV and see if it's like in a movie where whatever we're talking about is on the TV. And I said bonus points if I don't have to switch to CNN. And of course I turned it on. My local news channel was talking about it right away, fumbling all along the way, not being able to bring up clips live. It was hilarious. They were like, the violent protests, and CNN is calling them anarchists, like, because anarchists don't want the president. They don't want any president. These guys want a very specific president. They're like the exact opposite of anarchists. They want a very specific brand of quote-unquote law and order, which they don't actually abide by themselves.
They've only, it's all Antifa people that were actually doing this, and they're just
paid actors. Yep.
Yeah, they've just been faking this whole thing. So that's what's going on there. Can I share my favorite quote from the little bit of news I watched? So last night I was watching, I think it was CBS. And one guy comes on and he's talking about everything. He goes, we no longer share a common reality. And I just thought that was fucking hilarious. Well, obviously, man, like, we haven't for a long time, but this is what it took.
Somehow they're just realizing it now. And that's wild. Like we've seen this, we've seen, and I hate that I made this status and then I saw afterwards that Buttigieg said the same thing, but words do have consequences. Like, it's not just a matter of like, oh, we don't want the, we don't want the mean guy in office. I mean, once again, the liberal contingent is, we don't want the mean guy in office. And they got made fun of a lot for that. Oh, he just said mean things, blah, blah, blah. And, but like, now his mean things, I mean, not even now, but his entire presidency, his mean things have been inciting people to commit violent acts.
And again, listen, we don't want Trump to be in office either. Like, definitely don't want Trump to be in office. I mean, not at all, but we're just sick of, settling for the, dire racism of someone like Joe Biden. It's just like, why can't we have a good option here? A third option. But like you said, Trump's just, he's inciting violence. And I mean, I don't think it's surprising to us. I was speaking to a coworker and she said her boyfriend's Republican and he was shocked this happened. Like, really shocked. And I think there are people out there that are Republicans, maybe even Trump supporters, that really didn't think something like this could happen. They were just so naive. They couldn't see it.
I'll say my sister-in-law posted something on Instagram. It was a video of some other guy who was like, he was like, you know, a young Republican. He's like, I could say that the Republican Party does not stand for this, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what did you think was going to happen? This guy has been talking about the Second Amendment and wanting to kill Hillary Clinton since he was on the campaign trail in 2015. He's,
stand back and stand by, right?
Exactly. He told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, or stand down and stand by. Like, this whole time, and everyone's saying, oh, it's going to be a civil war and it's going to be this, and so what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? That people weren't actually going to listen to this guy? That I think, like you said, like a Republican or a Trump voter is different from a Trump supporter, and a Trump supporter is all about that cult of personality, and we saw it. We saw it there, that he just said to do something, and they went and did it. Like, people got killed, people got injured.
Yeah, I mean, it's unreal how much power he has over these people.
Yeah, so I guess I'll close out again just by saying, believe in ideals, do not believe in people. The cops shouldn't be murdering anybody, but they should be showing restraint with everybody as well. And also be defunded and probably not exist. But it's been a good housekeeping episode with you, Ty. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we sign off for today?
Oh, geez. I think we covered all the big stories. Hopefully, it won't be this long before we do the next one. There's probably going to be a lot of updates over the next couple of weeks. So, we'll probably follow up after, I'm sure after Joe Biden is most likely sworn into office. Unless the Civil War really happens.
That's what the Proud Boys are being saved for.
Oh shit!
However, they did say something on Parler, which was something to the effect of, all this bootlicking just to stand by some orange pedophile who doesn't care about us, like something like that.
Oh damn!
Yeah, listen to this week's Move Left, guys, if you want to listen to it. Move Left Idiots. And also go to Richard Medhurst's YouTube channel and watch everything you can, guys. Those are my recommendations for
stay informed.
For solid information. But yeah, that being said, I think we're gonna be doing 1 week. Like 1 week of the month will be a housekeeping episode.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
And then the other 3 will be the pop cultures. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to review next week?
I know we were throwing Wonder Woman out there. I also know Thor Ragnarok's been thrown out there, so maybe something comic booky.
Rogue One?
Could do Rogue One. Rogue One's on my list as well.
All right, so you know what? How about we do Rogue One, because we are going to have a hawkish president coming in, and Star Wars, war.
Space Force.
Exactly. So next week we'll be reviewing Star Wars Rogue One, where we once again will bring up the military-industrial complex and the price of rebellions versus the powers that be. But thank you so much for listening, everybody, and thank you to Antonia Chava for logo design. As always, you can listen to us, rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. You can support us via our Patreon, where you have access to exclusive content and specialty narrated audiobooks by myself, by yours truly. You can find us on Twitter at PolitiPopPod, Instagram at PolitiPopPodcast, or email us at politipopcast@gmail.com. We like to hear what you think. And so contact us in any of those ways, or like I said, just leave us a review. And you can find our show notes and sources at politipoppodcast.wordpress.com, so that way you know that not everything we're saying is complete bullshit. However, we are primarily an entertainment podcast. For the Politipop Podcast, I have been Mike Booch.
I have been Ty.
Remember, no matter what media you're taking in, no matter what Capitol buildings are being stormed on any particular day, no matter how you started your new year, never stop thinking, never stop learning, and always remember to read between the lines.
And scene.
There we go.